Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Faceoff, and we have a bit of a different look here today, and we have a bit of a different show for you as well. So today we have a very special guest who is very close to Ryan. So Ryan knows who this person is. So I'm going to turn it over to him to let him introduce who our special guest is today.
Well, thanks, Kevin. We talked about this about where we could take this after we sort of went through the arc of my career and talked about bringing people in that are involved with the game but in a different role. And our guest today is somebody who, yeah, arguably has been involved in the game just as much as I have in a different way. Um, we we as officials we have a career that needs a very understanding partner in our life that is willing to make changes at the last second to accommodate what's going on in our games, in our career, in our schedule, and not not everyone's able to have that kind of have that kind of a partner who's willing to sacrifice some of their own needs for the needs of our goal as officials. And really excited to have in studio is my wife, Rhonda.
And welcome,
Hello.
Rhonda.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
So we're going to ask you a few questions and sort of get the behind the scenes thoughts of being Ryan's partner and how you've supported him over the years, and sort of get an insight more to the other side of what Ryan has gone through. So why don't we start all the way back at the beginning? Is like, how did you and Ryan meet? And did you ever expect him to become a full-fledged NHL linesman?
We met through a roughing friend that I worked with long time. Well, this is a long time ago, and I went out with him a couple times, and then one time we were out, and he introduced me to Ryan. And then make a long story short, we ended up at a wedding of another hockey official that he works with in the league, who's now retired as well, who I've known for a very long time. And I got to talk a little more with him at the wedding, and even though I wasn't with him. And then a couple months later, we ended up together. I'll keep that story really short because I can really So, but yeah, through officials. So I worked at the casino, and this gentleman reffed hockey, and yes, he told me he reffed. They all reffed. I had no idea that this was a thing. Like, you don't pay attention to hockey officials, right? I managed a hockey team when I was 15, and there was a hockey official there that just stood at the box where I was and talked to me the whole time. So I never really thought officials did anything. And then it turned out that when I met
we kind of really don't.
When I met the whole group of friends, that official was there. The same official that was there when I was managing the team when I was for 15-year-olds. So it all kind of came full circle, but I didn't know how big it was. The night we got together, he was celebrating getting to go to Slovenia.
Slovenia, yeah.
Yeah, it was 1995, and all the guys were out at the bar and celebrating, him going to Slovenia. So he went to Slovenia, and that was kind of the first, I guess, time away. We had only dated very briefly. It was the first time that he actually went away, and I got my taste of, okay, this is what it'll be like. Maybe
part of the gig.
Yeah, but I didn't realize how much he would be away. I just thought, oh, this is just one tournament. It's not going to be all the time or anything like this. I had no idea how big this would get. I had no idea that there was officials that, like, NHL, all that, just was hockey for me. I'd always been involved in hockey. And so here we are.
So then when you're having those talks and discussing about his career as an official, when he wanted to become an NHL official at the highest level, what was sort of your first or initial reaction? And sort of how far into your relationship did you find out that he wanted to pursue that at the highest level?
I think I more found out from the guys around him than I did from him. I don't think, Ryan, that you ever were right out and said that you want to, this is what you want to do and everything. It was the guys telling me how good he was, and he's going to go somewhere and he's going to do something really good with this. So yeah, it was never him bragging about it. It was never him saying, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work in the NHL one day. I think he kind of kept that to himself.
Yeah, because I'd be made fun
Yeah.
at when I was a 12-year-old going to that referee clinic. I stood up and said that I want to work in the NHL. I was made fun of, so I never wanted to say that again.
But as we got farther into it, he worked every kind of hockey you could think of. And I knew then that, yeah, he really wanted to get into this, but he was at the top level. I believe he was number 2 in either the province or the country. I can't remember. So it was something like that. And he was doing all kinds of hockey. But every year for the WHL, they had the Memorial Cup. And every year he waited to find out if he got the Memorial Cup. And he never did. And one of the last couple of years before he got in, that was it. He was done. He didn't get the Memorial Cup, and
Just for
he wanted to give up on it.
The Memorial Cup was always sort of that stepping stone that if you worked in Memorial Cup, that was kind of that was the break-in moment to getting to the NHL. So I figured that if I wasn't going to get to work that tournament, that the opportunities for me to get into the NHL was never going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had some serious talks, and I said, I don't. You've been working this long at it. Like, why would you give up now? Like, you're still young. Just keep going at it. Like, don't get, upset, frustrated. Like, who says that you have to work the Memorial Cup? So then he ended up working the NHL, and I said, wow, you didn't even work a Memorial Cup. Like, it all worked out. Like, it was fine. So yeah,
did
I
you
had no idea how big this would go.
Did you attend many of his games prior to him becoming at a professional level?
I've been to lots of games. We did the drive to Brandon many times. I think a couple times I didn't actually go to the game because I was by myself. I'd go to a movie or I'd go shopping or whatever. But I knew he didn't like doing that drive by himself, and I didn't like him doing that drive by himself because it's brutal in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Many levels of hockey. I went to a hockey game that he worked the championship as a referee.
High school provincials.
Yep. Oh. He did a great job. And I'm like, would you ever think of refereeing? Like, nope. Don't like it. No. So
I'll throw that question.
Yeah.
I'll throw that question back to you, Ryan, is why did you choose to go the linesman route over the referee at that point?
Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't like refereeing. I enjoyed that side of it, but I always enjoyed the lining side of it more. I just like the role that the linesman plays in the game. I like that perspective on the game. The not necessarily having to be the out front guy, but you're sort of doing the background stuff that makes the game flow. And I always loved when I was able to prevent something from happening that we didn't need to deal with as an entire crew. Referees didn't have to get involved, but being able to sort of be that support part of the game. And that's not right, because we're not just support, but there's a lot of stuff that we do in the background that obviously helps the game flow better. And that was just something I always enjoyed. I always enjoyed that perspective. Yeah, I was a good ref. I don't think I would have ever got to the NHL as a referee. I don't think I would have had that level of experience, but it was certainly something I enjoyed.
Okay. So
After years of hockey, I couldn't see you being a referee. There's personality differences, and he's definitely a linesman. The linesmen that
Kev,
I
listen,
know are very much.
she's probably batting 950 on if we walked into a room of people that she knew were officials, but she doesn't know who they are. She's batting almost perfect score on being able to pick out who's the referee or linesman. Just a different personality, different. Yeah, she's
Yep.
good at that.
no, that yeah, definitely have to be perceptive to pick up on those little nuances. So kudos to you for being able to do that. So sort of moving on to Ryan, moving on to doing this professionally, what were some of your early concerns about when he started doing this professionally? Did you ever think about his safety, the games that he was in, whether he'd get hurt, any potential injuries that he could sustain?
Kevin, my biggest fear when he started working in NHL was him flying. That was my biggest fear, as it was my grandmother's and my mom's. Yeah, I hate the flying. Like, I'm like, you let me know when you take off and you let me know when you land, because I just want to know that you're there. So
Okay, but
that
how
was the
about
biggest fear.
anything during the games at all, though? Because it's as he increases in his career, it becomes a more and more physical game. Any fear
It
of the
does.
game itself that were of concern to you?
Flying pucks, and him not seeing them before he gets hit. Like a couple of the guys that he's worked with have had that happen. And I think one of the biggest things was, I think you seeing, how you say, your partner on the ice get hit, him turning his head, getting hit, being out before he even hit the ice. And he said, once I saw that, I had to wear a shield, because I knew I had no control over that whatsoever. So flying pucks, not sticks so much as probably skates when there's a fight and skates go up, and yeah, that's mostly it. But I know he's careful, or was careful.
And yeah, we had sort of chatted a little bit about during the pandemic as well, because the NHL decided to play the games, and of course you have to have officials for those games as well. So there was definitely a concern over that time frame as well. So why don't you share what your thoughts and feelings were when he was in that bubble?
Yeah, working with the players on the ice that you have no idea if they're working not feeling well. Even maybe the guys that you worked with, but I think they were pretty good about that. But players working and maybe feeling something, but still going out on the ice. And then they're in face-offs, they're breaking up fights, they're breathing all over, one another. And then, yeah, the worst thing did happen. He ended up getting it. And it was after you worked again. It was a couple days after you worked a certain game in a certain place. And then he ended up as far away from home as you could possibly be. And at Christmas time. So, and he was very sick, and I was worried. Like, I told him I want to drive down there. I didn't want to get on a plane. Drive down there and get him, just because he was in such bad shape, and it was Christmas and everything else. But we waited out the 2 weeks, and then he came home. So, and he's still here.
I think there's another side to it, Kev. Is Rhonda would, when I was on the road, she would watch the games. She wouldn't necessarily watch the games, but she'd have the games on TV, and she'd be doing stuff in the rest of the house, but she could always hear the audio. And the one thing she always said to me was that the one thing that terrified her was when she would hear that one of the referees got hurt, and it was that time from coming and going, getting to the TV and seeing, oh, is it him? Like that uncertainty of whether it was, me that got hurt. And I know that really bothered me. There's a few times where, I was down in Denver or over in Edmonton and I got hurt. And yeah, she hears it in the background that a referee gets hurt, and she comes into the room and sees me, down on the ice. So I think that was one thing that always frightened her was of, even if she was in the building, there's nothing she could do, but being at that kind of a distance, I think that frightened her too of not knowing if I was okay.
Okay.
Well, I remember watching a game where he got hit and there was somebody with me and all of us were silent. Nobody said a word. And then I got a phone call from someone. I can't remember who, the security guy, I think.
Yep.
He had called just to let me know that you were okay and not to worry about it. But everybody else I was watching with just went silent. Nobody said a thing. Like, they didn't know what to say because I was horrified. And it was like, oh my God, he got hit. And that was the last thing anybody said. And then we just sat and waited. But one of the worst ones, I was at the game, but I've seen all of his injuries. I see when he fell on his shoulder. I see when he got hit in the face. Hit in the face twice. Hit in the ear. Was right here in Minnesota. So yeah, that was kind of scary.
Okay.
But he was right back out on the ice again, so I knew it couldn't be that bad.
You sort of referenced during when he was flying from place that you always wanted him to let you know when he took off and when he landed. What about during his stays when he was traveling to different cities? What kind of communication and how did that progress throughout the years? When you first were dating, when you were not necessarily going with him on his trips, once he got to that level where he was actually flying and going to different cities on his own?
Well, when he first got in 22 years ago, 23 now, we didn't have texting back then. It was phone call only. And he didn't phone a lot. And I didn't like it, but I wouldn't say anything. My girlfriend ended up telling him that he needed to call more or he was going to have a problem. So, and then he called more and we didn't really have a routine. I just knew I don't think I've hardly ever called you.
No,
not
very often.
I didn't ever want to call. So I guess you would know if I did call, it was something was up. But no, I didn't call. I didn't expect a call after the game. I never had a lot of expectations. Just have some kind of contact. But then we were able to text. And it's been mainly texting, I think, for 22 years. The odd time we talk, and then we'd have a few FaceTimes, and yeah, that was our communication. So
well, that's good to hear that technology did progress to make it easier for you guys to keep in touch with each other. So that's good to hear. And
one thing that was kind of a routine and always was I would send him a text before a game.
Okay.
Always. I think I've
get out of the way. Don't get hit. Keep your head up.
I think maybe two, maybe 3 times I've missed a game. So
okay,
not very many.
And did he always respond to those texts before he went onto the ice?
Yes. There's been a couple times when, he'd have stuff going on or whatever and would contact after, or I would get my times, the time exchange, not time exchange.
Time zone.
Time zones mixed up and sent it too late and he's already on the ice.
Yeah.
He was like, sorry, I didn't send that before. And then he would just get back to me after the game. So yeah. But that was the kind of our routine. That was, the most routine I think we ever do. It was
I
that.
remember the
So-
one time I think I was in LA, and I'd just switched hotels that day, and I was dead tired, exhausted, and sent her a text and said, "Hey, yeah, just call the hotel. Here's the phone number. I'm in room, 1417." And she calls the hotel and gets through the switchboard, and she goes, "Can you put me through to 1417?" Like, we don't have a 1417. But you're traveling.
We're
You're
only
traveling.
6
So
floors.
yeah, you're traveling so much you forget where you are. You forget which room you're in. Yeah. So she's like, all right, well, okay. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was one of the trade-offs of traveling is sometimes you just don't know where you are. I get to go to cross the border, and the border agent would ask where I'm coming from, and I'd have to stand there like an idiot, going, "I have no idea. I couldn't tell you." So yeah, the hotel thing was just the other side of that.
I've talked to a few wives that didn't always know where their husbands were, like what city they were in or anything like that. That was the other routine, sending out a schedule. So every time he got a schedule, I would send that out. And I sent that out to, I think it climbed to almost just over 300 people that I was sending that to.
I was on that list, and I
And
thank you very much for sharing that schedule.
oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, so I would sit down and do that and send it out. And then there was people like, "Hey, where's the schedule? We don't have the next schedule." Like it was, so it became quite routine, but I always knew where he was.
Yeah.
Always knew where he was. It wasn't something that, I didn't care about. And not probably that they didn't care about, because quite a few of them had kids to more be worried about than where their husband is. So that could be a little bit of the reason why I knew so much. He was my child. Not
Wow.
really. Yeah, that was weird. He's like the
Anyway,
dogs, always looking after everybody.
anyways, so you did send out
I
the
had to make it
schedule.
uncomfortable.
So you did send out the schedules, but were there any other kinds of things that you did sort of behind the scenes to help communicate?
Pretty much everything. She pretty much did everything. I was very fortunate. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Yeah, she ran the house. She took care of all the bills. She made it easy for me to go to work because I didn't have to worry about that stuff. I didn't have to worry about the credit card bills or the water bill. I knew that was all taken care of, and without that just becomes something that weighs on your mind while you're trying to do your work. Sorry, I cut you off. That should have been your answer, but I want to make sure that you didn't sell yourself short on how important having that support at home is.
Well, things always went wrong when he wasn't there, or we get a big snowstorm.
That's because you'd break
he
it.
wasn't around.
Hey,
You'd use it and use it and use it, then you'd leave.
No,
that's an offside.
goes wrong.
Hey.
The furnace broke down when he wasn't here. A bird got in the house when he wasn't here.
what?
Yeah, remember the bird pulled out all the insulation out of a hole, and the neighbor had to come over, and he looked at it, and then I had to call an exterminator to come and put some kind of thing on where the bird could still get out, but he couldn't go in.
Yeah, you kind of exaggerated. You made it sound like the bird was in the house. The bird was.
Well, he kind of was.
On the outside. Well,
he was
close.
in between the walls. He would have just had to go through the drywall.
Ryan, I have to side with Rhonda on this one.
All right. Oh, and you said inside the house. I'm thinking, when was there a bird inside the house? All right, fair enough.
What else? Yeah, snowstorms. Like anything that could go wrong would always go wrong when he wasn't there, and it was probably because he was gone a lot. I think it was, I don't know, just a matter of what. Okay, so if anything happened, I wouldn't call him up right away or text him. I would leave it until after a game or a day off or whatever. One prime example, and this is not probably putting me in very good light, but his very first playoff game ever, I went to the bar with a friend. It was in April and it snowed. So I drove home, came home about 1 o'clock in the morning and pulled the truck up into the driveway, and I'm taking all the snow off. The neighbor had just shut his door and took all the snow off, walked around, got around to the passenger side, and the truck starts moving forward. I thought I put it in drive, but I didn't. Make a
Park.
long story short.
You left it in drive. You forgot to put it in park.
That's what, yeah. It starts going forward, and there's probably this much room between the truck and the garage door that I hadn't opened yet. And I ran in between, got pinned between the truck and the garage door, turned sideways, slipped out, jumped into the driver's seat, pulled the truck back out because it had gone into the garage and pulled the whole door off.
Oh no.
Everything. I got the door back on somehow. I got the truck in there, got the door in, pressed the button, it all worked. I don't know how I did, but I did. Anyway, I didn't text him about that. I just asked him how his game was. Everything was good. I'm like, I will not tell him about this and just let the air out of his, that he'd have to worry about that when he was on a high from working his very first game. I'm like, no, I'm not ruining that. So I waited until he was getting on the plane the next day, and he goes, yeah, we're pulling away from the gate and we'll be taking off right away. And I sent the story. I said, I slept really good, but I feel like I was run over by a truck. Oh, wait a minute. I was. I said, but I'm okay. And I sent the message, and he was up in the air.
Yeah.
couldn't send it back. Yeah, so I got an earful when he got on the ground.
So I stand by my previous comment that it always happens because you would break stuff. It wasn't because I was on the road. You were breaking stuff.
That was me breaking something. That was me honestly breaking something. I'm just surprised I kept myself alive all these years by myself. Because Kevin, I am one of the clumsiest people you've ever met. Falling downstairs, walking into doors, you name it, I've done it. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask a question that's, I don't know if it's going to cause a rift or not, but was there ever a moment where you wished he actually had a traditional 9-to-5 type of job as opposed to the career that he selected?
There might be a moment, very, very short moment. And then I look around and I'm like, no, I'm okay with what we have and how we live. I get to spend all summer at the lake with him at our cottage. And in the end, we probably spend more time together than people that have 9-to-5 jobs.
Have a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we've both spent he's spent a lot of nights in hotels. I've spent just as much time without him and at home by myself. But I've learned to find other things. I'm social, so that helps. I've met a lot of people here. Just to give you an example, my 55th birthday, I wanted a party. And I wanted a party here. And he goes, well, okay, just let me know how many people and we'll do a barbecue. So I said, okay. So I did some texting, did some stuff. And he goes, okay, how many people? And I said, like 85. He's like, what? Like, how do you know 85 people here? Because he knows very few.
Yeah.
Not all of them came. 55 people came to my 55th birthday, and he was not barbecuing. He ended up ordering in food, but he was just
and they're all welcome. And they're all welcome that I didn't barbecue.
Yeah. So he was just Florida. How many people I knew? But I have gone to college, like the college here, the county college. And I met a ton of people there. I went there for 4 years. I met a ton of people. I go to the gym. Our neighbors. I've just met a lot of people. Thank goodness.
Okay. Yeah.
They've helped. So
sort of carrying on with that, have you ever been recognized as being Ryan Galloway's wife?
many times. Many
Oh.
times. I'm like, I do have a name. I'm not just his wife. I do have a name, but I don't say anything. I just, whatever. Like even friends of ours will be introducing me to someone and it'll be, oh, this is Ryan Galloway's wife. It's like, hello. Like, say my name, like, and then say she's the wife of, because that was their common thing or whatever. But yeah, I've been introduced by that many times.
So being the wife of an official, have you ever heard any backlash or negative stories when you're out and about, when you're talking to various people, whether it be inside the rink or outside of the rink?
Yeah, I've heard a lot in the stands. It still irritates me. Not really outside of it.
Okay.
I think more just like in the rink when you're at a game. And like I said, like people will be friends with you because it's like, oh, that's really cool until their team loses. And then it's not so funny anymore. And then they had rude things to say. That's why I prefer that people don't know who I am if I'm sitting in the stands.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's totally fair. And after Ryan has gone on like all these road trips and been on the road for so long, was it tough to adjust to him when he had a string of home games to do, adjusting to having him around?
Not during the season, during the short stints that he was home, or if he was home for a few days. That wasn't hard. It was nice to have him home. The biggest adjustments were when the season came to an end, when I was used to having a visitor every so often. He'd pop in and live with us for a few days and then he'd
Pardon?
be gone.
Excuse me? Would you like to clarify that?
You were like a visitor. Like,
oh, you're talking about me. Okay,
yes,
yes. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Yes. So he'd be home here and then he'd leave again. And then when he'd get home at the end of the season, I'm like, well, I'm not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when are you leaving again? Like now he was in my space all the time. So you had to get used to that because you're living almost like a single person. Like you have your own schedule. I have my own stuff going on. I was going to school, so we weren't leaving to go to the lake as early as we would have liked to because it went until May. And so I still had stuff that I had to do, and he was home. And he's home. And I'm still doing my own stuff. So that was always an adjustment. That wasn't always the greatest adjustment until we got to the lake. And then in September, it was a crappy adjustment because we'd been together 24/7, having a great time at the lake. And you feel like a couple. You feel like, wow, I am married.
Mm-hmm.
I do have someone. And then we get back here and he was gone. And it was like ripping a Band-Aid off almost. Like it was a crappy time. And it was season change and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So then you got to get back into that routine again. And it takes a little while. Just as much as it took a little while to have him back in the house, it takes a while to not have him back in the house again. So 2 big adjustments.
Okay.
Well, and it comes from both sides too. Like it was the same thing for me that I had my routine, and all of a sudden that changed, and now I'm at home, and then you get into a routine there, and then that gets upset. So it's both sides, but yeah, I mean, I'm coming in, for the most part, I'm coming into her world, and I'm just we don't have kids, but I'm disrupting what's going on with the dogs, and that's not how we do things. That's not how we feed the dogs. So it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was those. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's those little small adjustments and things that you do that all of a sudden now somebody's stepping in and doing it differently. Yeah, big adjustment for both of us.
Even as much as going to bed, I am a night hawk. I would be up till 3, 4 in the morning, many nights, like doing stuff. That's kind of when I get going. And he comes home and we go to bed, because we always go to bed at the same time. We'd be going to bed by 12 o'clock, and I'd be laying in bed going, this is not my sleep time. So you kind of have to adjust to that every time. And it was, that's an adjustment in itself, like just not having the same sleep schedule.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we'll focus a little bit more on some of the more fun and positive things now. Some of the most exciting moments you've experienced traveling with him, like for instance, going to all-star games, some of the overseas stuff. What were some of your more exciting experiences that you've shared with Ryan?
I think the very first outdoor game in New York was, maybe because it was, we only got a few days notice on it. And it was, we were gone and then we were there. So that was my first time to New York. So that was exciting just because it was so quick and it was, you didn't get time to think about it. I got to meet people there. Like, we didn't get to invite family to that one. So when you're by yourself, you end up meeting more people. Whereas if our family was there, you don't kind of intermingle as much. With the other people. So that one, I ended up hanging out with family of the guy that couldn't make it there, which is why Ryan ended up doing it last minute. And we still communicate. And so that was fun. But one of the best ones was when we went to Europe. That was awesome. Like, we had a great time in Europe, and
what were some of the
exciting
highlights?
And different.
What were some of the highlights of the trip? Was it the games itself, or was it the touring around and just the opportunity to see the cities?
A little bit of everything, because we went to the game and what we thought was, oh, I'm going to lose this. Sorry. What we thought was, oh, wow, they did a great job, because
Yeah,
there was no yelling at the refs in between. We found out afterwards, we heard a lot of whistling in the crowd.
yeah.
And so he said, like, how was it? And I said, oh, there's lots of whistling. Well, the European gentleman told them that's what they do when they don't like your officiating. So yeah, that was different. But yeah, just seeing the world and just getting to experience that. And it didn't cost us anything. Like, going to Europe it didn't cost us an arm and a leg, because we went through his work. So it's nice to go to those places, but it's different because you are there for work. So you're still limited to, you're still going on their schedule.
Yeah.
So and still trying to stay out of his way.
I have to, tell a little bit of background of Ron. She's a photographer, and incredibly talented and very, very artistic. And to be able to go over to Europe and see the architecture and see the different just the environment itself, taking the train from Berlin to Prague, and traveling through the hillsides, and seeing her in her element. Or I've got a great picture on my phone. We were on a tour boat of one of the rivers in Berlin, and she's up there at the front of the boat, and she's taking pictures. She's in her element. So it was fun to be able to see her in that environment, and doing what she loves to do, and that it was able to be piggybacked onto my job. Made it even more special. That was her first time over in Europe, so that was all new to her. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to go see these places. And I went a little more when it was new. And then that wore off really quickly, because when we go, it's work. It's so if I want to go and do anything, it was by myself, because today's game day. I know I'm not gonna see him, and I'm staying out of his way, and he's gonna sleep in the afternoon, and I got to find something to do. So yeah, it was just a different way of traveling, and it was good to go out and do all that. But now I really look forward to going with him, and it not being.
We just came back from a cruise. It was, since we've been together, it was our first non-work related winter vacation ever. We never got the chance to go anywhere. So yeah, it was different. It was the same as you were talking earlier about me interrupting her routine when I come home. I've got my routine living out of a suitcase, and it was the same thing with her coming into my world. Now she's interrupting my routine. But to be able to just travel on vacation like that, on the cruise, and not have my structured travel day, it was actually kind of nice. I think it was nice for both of us, so we could just go and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not. It was not a schedule, because he's got to be 3 hours early for everything, and that's not me. I'm flying in by the seat of my pants. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
an
understatement.
When he's working, I'm not getting in the way of him being late. I'm right there. Okay, let's be on time, because you don't want to see Grouchy come out.
So
that's a scary thing to see.
Speaking of your cruise, we have a question that was submitted for you specifically. It said, if Ryan had a favorite karaoke song to sing, what would it be?
What would it be, Rhonda? Let's see if we get it right this time.
Tragically Hip.
It's not a song. That's a band. 30 plus years. Every time the song comes on.
Okay.
Every time.
To give a little back on this. Backstory. I do not know song names. I do not know bands. I do not know words to songs. I just hear the music. That's how I listen. I could tell you in the first couple beats which song it is, but I can't tell you because I don't know the name or who sings it. It's Tragically Hip, and I know the one. It's about the.
It's not Firehouse. It's not Firehouse.
No, it's not.
Highway Girl from.
That's it.
That's it.
I can never remember the name of that.
That's strike two.
You know what? I have too much other stuff. That's why I don't remember names to songs, because you know how many of those there is. I can't use up my headspace for that. So yes, and that's the one I went to say on the ship. I scribbled it out and put Firehouse, because he plays that because he knows I can't stand it. So anyway, he knows more about me than I know about him. Put it that way.
All right. Well, let's turn this around and let's make Ryan feel really, really good. Out of his entire career, what are you most proud of Ryan and his accomplishments?
I think just the He's very driven, and he's wanted to do this since he was 14 years old. How many people do you know that wanted to do a job that they love, that actually got to do the job that they loved? He's one person that's done that, which has given him, that's a huge goal. And it just shows how driven he is. Very driven. And to see him work 1,000 games was probably one of the most exciting. Yep, exactly. One of the most exciting ones, like, because we had, and if it was just a game and I went there and it was just 1,000 games, like his actual 1,000th game was in Phoenix, and I went with his dad, and it was good. It was great to see. It was like, wow, he's done 1,000 games. It was the one in Winnipeg where everybody that we know came out to the game and celebrated with us. That made it so special, and just shows me how much people admire him. And yeah, and it's, you get a good idea of who a person is by watching who they surround themselves with, and seeing that many people come out for him. They're great people. Yeah, it says a lot about him.
Yeah.
And not only that 1,000 game, which it impressed me, but didn't impress me, that he worked 15 games with his shoulder torn up.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he should be working those, but he knows what he can do. And in the end, he didn't wreck it too badly. The surgeon was quite surprised. But he wasn't going to let everybody down and not do that 1,000th game. And he went 5 over. So there you go. But yeah, just his professionalism, how he carries himself, how he cares about other people. Yeah, not only the people that we know or the guys he works with, but everybody he meets along the way. The cab drivers, he'd come home with stories about cab drivers or Uber drivers that he talked to, hotel staff, restaurant staff, little kids that he's given pucks to. Yeah, he's just carried himself very well, and he's done what he wants. And yeah, he's successful. Very successful, and it's because of who he is. So that's what I'm proud of.
Oh,
And
that's awesome to hear. But now that he's done his career, now it's the life after officiating. And how has his retirement changed your lifestyle now?
Okay, if anybody knows me,
I'm really nervous about that pause.
I'm kind of all over the place. I do a lot of things by how I feel, not by thinking about it.
You know, like trying to stop a like a half-ton truck. Just, you know, for example, not really thinking about what happens when you stand in front of a truck.
No, and I can go on with those stories, but I'm not going to. Okay, this is terrible.
I'm very structured, and she's more random and, you know, reactionary, and just, you know, reacts in the moment.
Well, it's here.
Yeah.
Everything is there. So my biggest thing is, I hate being asked, what's on your agenda for today? I hate that question more than anything. It makes the hair on my body just stand up on end. I hate that question because if I have a list of things to do, I don't want to give him that list because there's a good chance that I probably won't do any of those things on the list, but I will make a different list and I will write down what I've done today, because if I don't get the list done that I told him, it's not that I didn't not do anything today. It's I did something totally different, because these lists, these things on this list I wasn't feeling it today.
Yeah.
But when they start getting to the top of the list and they need to be done, I'll do them if I really have to. So yeah. So that's the biggest thing is every day it's what's on your agenda today? And I'm like, oh, sometimes I wish you were still you're not asking what I'm doing.
She just
But
doesn't
it'll
like
be at the
having the
lake.
answer. You just don't have to. You don't like having to give answers.
That's true. Yeah. But even at the lake, it's like, what's your agenda? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I don't know what I'm going to feel like. That's like going out and taking pictures. Some days I can go out and not see anything and have no desire to take pictures. And then there'll be a day when I'm supposed to be doing these things. And I'm like, no, I see this and this and this, and I'm taking my camera outside. So no, I didn't get any of these things done. So I don't like the pressure of, well, you said A, B, and C and you didn't do A, B, and C, but I'm like, no, I did D, E, and F. Like that's how my day goes. And that's how my day has always gone. And also I'm very versatile, and versatility in this life has served me well, because his schedule he could be coming home for 5 days, and all of a sudden we get to the third day or second day and he's like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. I gotta go, because they called him to go work for someone else. Yeah, so I had to be versatile. If you're not versatile, being married to someone in this profession, it doesn't serve you well. So yeah.
No, my whenever I am asked that question as well, it's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I always give a standard canned answer of, I'm going to get up, I'm going to have a cup of coffee, and we'll see from there.
See, but Kev, okay, in my defense, I don't ask because I want to know exactly what she's going to get accomplished today, but I also want to plan my day around what she's going to do, right? So if she's got a doctor's appointment, or she's got something that she needs to do, then I know I've got 2 hours where I can do something that's not going to involve or take away the time that we have together. So that's the reason why I ask those questions. It's not because I'm trying to keep her on a schedule. It's because I want to form my day around what she's doing.
And now I'm dragging him out. I'll tell him, okay, get dressed. We're going out. Well, where are we going? I'm not going unless I know where we're going. But yet he'll drive. We're going somewhere. He'll drive, and all of a sudden he's going off somewhere. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to go if I don't know where we're going. I would, but I feel like answering the way he does and go, no, I don't want to go there because I don't know where you're going. We're just different in those ways, right? Yeah. So, but I'm telling him get dressed, and I'll tell him right before we're leaving, okay, we're gonna go see a movie. He's like, okay, good, but he just has to know where we're going.
Okay,
because he's got to have this. He's got to see how envision it first before we go. Can't ever just do anything off the cuff.
So that sort of leads me into my next question then, is like, what's one thing you've noticed since he's retired that he loves to do but couldn't do while he was busy with his career? Because like I always know, he wants to be a guitar rock star. So is he taking that up? Is he practicing that a little bit more, or has he picked up other hobbies?
Back in October, I think you picked up the guitar a little more than you are right now. I think he bought himself some guitar lessons online, and then he was doing that for a little bit.
Stupid shoulder.
Yep. Now it's the other shoulder, but he remembers the first shoulder, so he doesn't want to do this shoulder now. I don't know. Somehow it was just October when we got home, and now it's almost time to go back to the cottage, and I'm like, what did we do that whole time? I don't know. It just kind of flew by. Although it's not a hobby. He has his new job, and he's gone every weekend. So that's not being terrible. And he enjoys it. So he's semi-retired. Not totally retired. So, but the nice thing I think about being retired and what we'll be able to do now is leave to the lake a little bit earlier and come back a little bit later.
Okay. So no, that's
I don't know,
a good thing.
What else have you been doing? We can just go to a movie in the middle of the afternoon, which we've been doing.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah. He can just have a peanut butter sandwich whenever he wants to. Couldn't do that on the road.
Yeah, we heard that story a couple of times. So definitely he likes being at home to be able to make those simple things.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice having him at home. Like when I'll go out in the afternoon, I got to think about the dogs. What time I'm leaving, what time I got to be back, when they eat, all this kind of stuff. And just knowing that he's at home and I don't have to rush back if I have something that I play crib with my neighbor's mom every Wednesday. And I would get there and I always had a time out when I had to leave by because the dogs. And so my alarm still goes at 3:30 and she's like, oh, you got to get home for your dog. No, Ryan's there. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting, like Ryan's there. You don't have to. And then we can finish, our full 6 games or whatever we're doing. But yeah, just having him there and then not having to do everything, which was hard at first. I know you told me, you're like, okay, I'm home now. You don't need to do everything.
Yeah.
So whereas taking out the garbage and recycling and that kind of stuff, he does now, which is nice because I hated doing it. So yeah, he's doing more of those things.
So basically, she's got to live in garbage man dog sitter. That's basically my retirement. Is I'm the garbage man and the dog sitter.
That goes away every
you're a person to
weekend.
go to movie with.
That's what I'm.
Person to go to a movie with.
That's what I'm reduced to. That's. I shouldn't say reduced. That's not fair.
Yeah. So what is the next focus for you and Ryan sort of in this next step now that he's done his semi-retired job? Because he was just saying prior to going live here that they just finished the finals. So I don't know if that means more opportunities for him or what's next for the both of you.
I don't know, getting ready to go to the lake.
Yeah. A few little things that need to be done around the house, and the biggest thing is getting ready to go back up north, up to the cottage, and get ready for that next part of the year, and then that opens up a whole there's a whole routine out there of stuff that needs to be done and how stuff operates, and so it's a little more of a different lifestyle there, living remotely and not having the conveniences of everything being right around the corner from you. So it's getting used to those kind of things. But
But yeah, excited to go back home and see our parents, the rest of the family, and then our friends, and just being close, like being able to go and see them when you want, as opposed to we could go now, but there's kind of a lot of uncertainty
logistics.
going on right now too. So it's,
Yeah,
there's,
exactly.
So that kind of plays a little bit into, you could have all the plans you want, but if somebody else makes them for you, you have no choice.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out. But so far it's
Ne-
been good.
Good. And I have one last question before we head to overtime here. If you could do it all over again, would you still choose this life that you had with Ryan?
I would.
Oh, geez, there's that long
I would.
pause again.
No, I had no question about it. No, I would in a heartbeat. Like we've had a good life. We have a cottage. We have our home. We have we've had lots of opportunities. We've met a ton of people. Like I said, I know 85 here. You probably know how many, like from traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Hotel staff and staff that works at the rinks and just people you've met on the road. And then the people that I know here. So it's if you change one thing, if you go back and you change one thing, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't change anything. I love where we're at, and yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
No, that's awesome.
I seriously believe everything happens for a reason, and everything along the way, bad or good, has brought us here. So I wouldn't change anything. No. And I still love him after all these years. I'll keep him.
You're stuck with me.
Yeah. All right. And on that note, we're going to head to overtime.
Hey, sorry, I was just going to ask what we're going to do tomorrow. Anyways, let's go to overtime.
Anyway, what we're going to do tomorrow.
So we're now in overtime, and because we've been asking and grilling Rhonda all the questions, it's time to turn the tables, and Rhonda gets to ask the questions to Ryan now. So now we have talked to her, got to know her quite a bit, and sort of what it's like to be sort of behind the scenes. What kind of questions would you like to ask Ryan that all of the viewers and listeners would like to know? Like, for instance, what are 3 things that, or even just one thing that you know that nobody else really knows about Ryan?
So you're asking me questions again.
I'll ask one, and then you can take it and go with that.
What people don't know about Ryan? Well, there's a very small group of people that ever get to really know exactly who he is. And he's got to know you, he's got to trust you. He's goofy as can be. You know,
goofy in a good way, right? In a good way?
Sometimes. Most of the time. Like if you were to ask our nieces and nephews, he's done some pretty goofy things when, you know, they've come out to the cottage where they're just like, who is this? And yeah, but like I said, a very small group of people get to see that person. So, because when you see him, all these years that he's been working, it's all about perception, and you never know who's watching. So you can't ever let your guard down until you're not working anymore. So that's maybe going to be a little more fun. But yeah, he knows how to have fun, whether people believe that or not.
That's awesome.
He's always, the guys on staff used to tell me he needs to like loosen up a little bit. He's too rigid, like, you know, like this. And I just said, that's what you get. That's what you get. So, if I was to ask anything, it'd be, if you could do it all over again, is this what what you would have, like, the move? Would you have moved somewhere else? Would you, like, I know you would have done this job, because I wouldn't marry a stuntman. Sorry.
What about a rock star?
Nope,
No, not a rock star.
definitely not.
Yeah, well, later on when you're tired of being in the cold, at times I wish maybe we moved a little bit further south. But as you said, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens the way it should. Had we moved further south, maybe that makes the convenience of getting back to the lake, a 10-hour drive is a lot easier than a 36-hour drive. And does that all of a sudden change our mind of having the summer place, or do we? Yeah, every decision has unintended consequences, and I think we've made the right decision on where we moved to. It was certainly for excuse me, the ability to get back and forth to the cottage was significantly easier, but also, it's tough. It was tough for you when I started, and you're here on your own. The convenience of being close to family, that you could get back home, or people could come down and see you and spend time with you when I was on the road. Uh, Again, I think we made the right decision. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, you asked me before, Kevin. What are the things I would have liked to have done, and if I had to have another career, what would it be? But um, as Rhonda said, to being able to live a dream that I'd had from when I was a little kid. Um, yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything else, and all the benefits and the things that came along with it, the friendships that were made, the experiences we've had. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would have done anything different.
And the other question I had, which I think you've kind of answered a little bit throughout the thing, was, do you think that I did a good enough job keeping the stress out of your life?
Oh,
The
100%.
best I could while you were gone, like with a house or with the dogs. The 2 dogs died when you or one died when you weren't home, which is the worst thing. Like I said, things go wrong when he's not here. One of our dogs died. But just even not wanting to phone him when that stuff is going on, but knowing he'd want to know, but not telling him. And then you have to balance that out. That's why I'm saying, do you think I did a good enough job not stressing you out before a game or when you had something going on?
100%. I don't think it's just exclusive of this, but any jobs. I think there's things that each partner has to do to support each other. Um, Being away for as much as I was, being away for half the year. As I said when I started it, or when we started this, was you basically ran the house. You made it so that the only thing I had to worry about was going to work. Um, I knew that stuff was getting done, that I didn't need to worry about, that I could focus on my job and my career. And yeah, I mean, Rhonda, we have enough friends that were high performing officials that, because of things that were going on with their relationship, that they weren't able to sacrifice isn't the right word, but put as much time into the hockey side, that they weren't able to go as far as they probably could have. And you've always been there to support me, and sacrificed. And I will say sacrificed in this sense, but all the times that things had to change, and schedules had to change, and plans that we had. Yeah, I couldn't have done this without Rhonda's support. It'd be virtually impossible. I don't know how guys that have kids, I don't know how they do it.
Nope.
Not only does that is that partner having to take care of everything at home, but now they're having to raise 2 or 3 kids on their own, and yeah, I couldn't imagine living this lifestyle and having had kids as well, and what I personally would have missed out of, and how much more weight that would have put on you,
And the kids, because
and the
I've
kids,
heard
right?
from everybody that has kids, like the kids, when they're babies, it's good, but when they get old enough to
They get
realize dad's gone, it's a hard thing for them when they leave the house. Dad's gone, and they're screaming and crying, and that kind of stuff. That's got to be a stress right there. Or they phone and the kid's sick, and then you're on the road, and just that kind of stuff. So there's one nice thing that we didn't have to deal with, but it's bad enough just having one sulky dog that sits and waits for him, and doesn't eat, or just is all out of sorts because her person's not there, or because our pack isn't together. I'm not sure which one she likes better, you or just having our pack together. She's just all out of sorts, and yeah, sulky, grumpy, that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So any other
and
questions?
you make good peanut butter sandwiches, so you always had one ready for me.
I tried.
Any
What
more
was your
questions,
like
Rhonda?
your favorite thing out of this whole job? Like, yeah, like just what you liked the best out of having this kind of job.
Well, I mean, obviously the games was one part of it, but the other things you talked about it before, about the people you meet along the way, and having the ability to have those interactions with kids. Being able to just bring people into my world and experience it all new. We sometimes forget, and it's not just exclusive to my job. I think anybody who lives in a higher profile kind of lifestyle sometimes forgets how unique and special it is, and sometimes you can find yourself taking it for granted and not realizing just how cool it is to be in that world. So to bring somebody into that world and see our nieces and nephews being out on the ice and experiencing that, or bringing young kids down to the dressing room to get to meet the guys, and it just regrounds you and makes you realize of just how amazing an opportunity I had, and to be able to see that through somebody else's eyes. Yeah, that's one thing that I think is probably my favorite thing about this career, was having those opportunities to share. Like, having Garth, Laura, and the kids at the All-Star game, and getting them to go down and meet all the players, and get autographs. Just I take it for granted because I see these guys on a nightly basis, but to see them and how excited they were to be in that environment. Yeah, that's probably my favorite part about that experience.
I always loved bringing people to the games at minute, like here in town.
So,
Yep. Because we always got the full meal deal when we went. Like, we came in with him down underground. They've never been down there. And then we'd get a ticket to the lodge and have like free dinner, which was great in there because they had really good food. And then having really good seats. And then they would all laugh. They say, "You're like Norm when he walks into the bar. Like, everybody here knows you." So that was always nice. And visiting, I hardly ever sat and watched a game. I'd go around and visit, and we got to go in the alumni room and see, all that stuff. And it was just good for them, and it was good for the people that had never been to a hockey game or been involved or know what the official part is of it. They don't realize what the officials do. And that was me in the beginning. Like, I had no clue. So you take somebody that doesn't know that part of, the hockey part. It was kind of neat to see them seeing all this for the first time. So yeah, but it was good. All in all, it's been good.
yeah.
Different, but good.
Well, Kev, you know, I've never met a microphone I don't like, and
Sir speaks a lot.
our podcasts have gone a lot longer than when we first started out here of what we expected these to be. You know, we were kind of aiming for that 20-25 minute. I don't think we've got anything less than 35. But I just, for the record, we're now at an hour, almost an hour 20, and it hasn't been me talking at all. So now we know who the long-winded one in the family is.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I was being grilled.
offside.
Oh, that might have been a gross misconduct. That's not offside. That was
Oh, wow.
All right.
And I'm
Well-
only talking because there's not a bunch of people standing in front of me. So otherwise I no.
Any last questions, Rhonda, for Ryan, and put him on the spot before we close things off here?
Not that
No,
I can
I'll-
think of.
I'll get the questions afterwards.
Yeah, that's when they'll come to me. No, not that I can think of.
All right,
So
then
is-
I'll turn it over to Ryan for the last word then, and we'll wrap things up here.
Well, first off, Rhonda, thanks for your honesty and wanting to be part of this, and you know, giving a different glimpse behind what this world is like, and I appreciate your honesty and your candor and how you answered Kevin's questions. Yeah, I couldn't have done this without you. You know that, but I think what it does is it also gives another experience for people who are following these videos to see the other side and to get a deeper perspective into what it's like to be a professional official, and the support structure that we have to have around us in order to succeed. So I appreciate you doing this. And Kev, we've talked about this before, and this is sort of where we're going with this is our intention to bring other people into these discussions and get different perspectives from other people, and not just hearing from the long-winded loudmouth, but hearing it from other people about their experiences in hockey. And I'm looking forward to seeing where we take this and bringing other people into this conversation. So thanks for doing this, Rhonda. Again, thank you for being a part of this, and
Thank you for asking me.
let's see where we go for episode 11.
Great.
Maybe
Thanks,
nobody
guys.
will watch after this.
Well, this
We'll see.
is a
But thanks for having me.
This is a full-on movie. Like, we don't need to go to a movie this week. We just lived one.
And with that, we'll wrap things up.
All right. Thanks, Kev. Thanks as always.
Thank you, Kev.